Hello, parents and teachers who may be watching. Welcome to Creating Math Ahas for Parents. I'm Dr. Sandy Atkins, Sandy, and in this video, we're going to be looking at place value. Now, place value is a key number sense idea that's important for your children to understand to be successful at computation, become fluent at computation. But one of the things that's going to be very important for your children, not just with place value, but in mathematics in general, is recognizing, seeing patterns, getting to a point where they can describe them in very general terms. What patterning does and recognizing those patterns, creating, extending, all of that does for your child is it minimizes what needs to be memorized. And I hope as we look through this video, that will become more clear. Now I'm going to ask up front, if you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It'll really help the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. Please subscribe. Please click on the notifications bell so that you know when other videos become available, and share with others who might find this useful. Again, it would be greatly appreciated and would help the channel. Now, let's look at place value. One of the things that we do with your children, just to get them starting to notice patterns, is we use a think, pair, share technique, a notice and wonder. We found that's been a very highly effective strategy. And if I were to ask you to pause the video and just look at this chart that we have up here and tell me everything that you notice, some of the things you may tell me or that your children would tell me is they notice that there's two colors. They notice that there's three sections in each. They notice that there's headings like units and thousands. And when they share these things, I can introduce some terminology to them. So we call the units, the thousands, that heading would be the period, right? Those are periods. And then within each one, they have the ones, tens, hundreds, and then they notice that in the next one, the name matches the thousands, and that first place is thousands, and then we go 10,000s, 100,000s. They start to describe those patterns, okay? And they know I can introduce, the places. So you have three places in each period. And then you see tens in the second place of that second period. You get the idea. So then I can ask your child, well, what would the next period be? And some will know it's millions, right? So once we have that millions period, I can have them fill in the places. They don't need to memorize the places as much as understand that the pattern with it means we would have millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. What's the next period? Billions. See, I'm not having to memorize 12 place value names. I need to memorize period order, the names of those periods, and then I can fill in the places within each period based on the patterns, less to memorize. Now, you notice that when we write long numbers, quite often there are commas there. Commas are distinguishing the periods, right? We have those ones, the units, the thousands, the millions. Now, what's important for your child to understand is a comma is not required. It's not mathematically required. It's helpful to distinguish periods, but writing the number in this way would be just as correct. When we enter it into a calculator, into the computer, we don't put commas in, okay? And in some places, a comma is used for what we use a period for, the decimal point. So it's important to know which symbol is used when. So 123,456,000, notice we're naming from the periods, right? 789 can be written either way. So in mathematics, we want your child again to understand what is mathematically required, what is mathematically helpful, like commas, and some things that we require them to do could be misleading. We might make them think it is incorrect to not have a comma, and that's misleading because it is. So thinking about the use of commas when we write long numbers helps us distinguish periods. It's helpful, not required. Now, I've shown in other videos the base 10 models. These have different pieces, right? I'm showing here matches the 1. You'll have tens, you'll have hundreds. So in this case, we have 1. Now, one of the important things for your child to understand about place value is that the numbers in the place, tens place, are 10 times larger than the numbers in the ones place. Just like this, the tens block, this block is 10 times bigger than the ones cube, okay? And then it goes on. The hundreds block is 10 times bigger than the tens. The thousands, 10 times bigger. And then it's not limited to do the place directly next to. We want them to also know that the 100 is 1/10 the size of the 1,000. Or in this case, the 100 is 100 times more than the 1. The thousands cube would be 1,000 times more than the 1, or 100 times more than the 10. So we're wanting them to understand the relationship between places in terms of the size of the number. That a 5 in the tens place is not the same as a 5 in the hundreds place. It's going to be 10 times greater, right? 500 is 10 times greater than 50. So that's part of the understanding we're also hoping that your child develops about place value. It helps with computation, but one of the ways we help them develop that understanding is giving them very clear images for sizes of the units. And this is one image we use. Now, let's think about what happens with decimal numbers. Right? Decimal numbers, and you'll hear me talk about decimal fractions in other videos, because to me, decimals are fractions. They're special fractions with a power of 10, right? Factor of 10 in the denominator. So we have tenths, hundredths, thousands. Now, remember I said at the very beginning of the video, it's helpful not to have to memorize. It's helpful to look for patterns. And when we come out from the decimal point, and we come across, it's hard to maintain that thousandths, millionths, the way this is written. But see, think about, I have the ones, right? I make sense of tens and hundreds based on that starting point of 1. I make sense of tenths and hundredths based on the whole, the 1. See, 1 is really kind of my line of symmetry of what's going to happen. If I have ones, tens, hundredths, I can have ones, tenths, hundredths, right? That ones is key. So then what happens for my next period? It would be thousands. And the pattern will repeat. I have thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s as I move to the right. What's the next period? Millions. Same idea, you see? So 1, that first place, is key, whether we're working to the left of the decimal point or to the right of the decimal point. Now, as we keep going with this, okay, we're wanting to make sure that your children have visual images for what they're doing. Now, I use this as the 1,000, thinking to the left of the decimal point, the thousands block. But what if I said this was our whole? This was our starting. This is my 1, right? What part of that is this one? See, now all of a sudden, that 100 flat is 1/10 the size of this. And then this is 100th the size. And this one is 1,000th the size. Now, that again, we're looking at a place next. Each of these, this is 1/10 of this one. This is 1/10 of this one. This is 1/10 of this one. See, we have those relationships, and the visual models will help your children. The nice thing, though, about this thousands cube here, I'm going to hold it up again. And I know it's little on your screen, but this is the size. If I had a liter of water, and we can have one of the beaker shapes, say, for your child, is a cubic liter. If I poured a liter of water into that container, this is the volume you'd see. Now that's helpful if this can also represent a leader. See, it's not restricted to just place value and number models. It will help us develop the imagery for your children for measurement. Because then what is that next piece? Well, that's the deciliter, 1/10. And the next one is the centiliter. And the next piece is the milliliter. See, if that little cube is a milliliter, I remember taking chemistry, I kept getting confused of how is a milliliter and a cubic centimeter the same? Well, this relationship, this model helps your children make that connection. So when we're picking models to use with your children, it's very purposeful. It's making sure that we use that model that helps build connections across, not just used for single pieces of the mathematics curriculum. Now, I want to go back to our place value chart, right? That decimal point there, thinking about what happens here. And I think I mentioned powers of 10 and having tens in the denominator. But see, think about the tens place, we have 10 to the first, one factor of 10. The hundreds place, two factors of 10. The thousands place, three factors of 10, or 10 to the third, right? What's nice is the tens, see that exponent tells us how many zeros are following the one also, right? Hundreds, 2 zeros. Thousands, 3 zeros. And the pattern will continue as we continue going up through those places to the left of the decimal point. Now, look at the pattern going the other direction. We're going 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what is the ones place? What's the exponent for the ones place? See, it's helpful to start with the tens when we're developing exponents and going up and using patterning to decide what the ones place is. There's your 10 to the 0th. Keep going to the right of the decimal point. We've got 10 to the negative first, negative second. You see, patterning helps us fill in those missing pieces, It will help us fill in the missing pieces. It helps minimize what we memorize just to memorize. It helps us make sense of all those relationships and carries us from the most early work in grade 1 with place value to what they're going to be doing with exponential notation, scientific notation, making sense of ways that we represent decimal values. Again, I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with friends, other parents, or teachers who may find this helpful. Please subscribe to the channel. That would be fantastic. It helps with the YouTube algorithm to help others see these videos. So that would be great. I appreciate that support. And again, click the notifications bell. I try to put these up every Tuesday. If you have any requests and ideas for videos you'd like to see, please put them in the comments below. Again, I'll take a look at those comments, see if we can't make some videos to help answer those questions. Thanks so much for watching.